Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
Syracuse drops one in the Dean Dome. Final score 87-77. And that was a wacky one. Kyle Marchak with you on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. It's the Burdick Toyota postgame show. And before this contest, I think we all said, yeah, this one might be a sloppy contest. And I might have bit off more than I could chew in my prediction before the game, saying that Syracuse was only going to lose by 10 points. Sure enough, they were down 32 points in the second half, and somehow they come back and only lose by 10 points. I'm not the type to pat myself on the back, but that was a crazy way to finish a game and somehow made the fact that they lost on the road in the Dean Dome for the 8th straight time sting a little bit more on a night where Syracuse really could have used a turnaround win. On the Burdick Toyota post-game show, again, Kyle Marchak with you. Call in, give me your thoughts. What do you want to see Red Autry change? Do you want to see Red Autry with this team going forward? 315-437-7644. Again, the final score from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 87-77. So let's break this one down. Syracuse falls to 13-10, 4-6 in ACC play. They'll stay at 11th place, barring any changes in the standings until they play again on Saturday. North Carolina now 18-4, 6-3, tied 5th in the ACC, and we see firsthand now why this team is top 25 in the net and unanimous top 25 in the coaches and AP poll. They played like a top 10 team tonight. We talked about the holes in their defense before the game, weak perimeter defense mainly. Well, Syracuse was never going to be the team really to take advantage of that, although they have been hotter shooting from beyond the arc in conference play. And sure enough, they shot like crap from beyond the arc, just to put it bluntly. So let's walk through the game. UNC led early, got easy, strong buckets in the inside. They were up 46-32 at half. Really nothing surprising about the first half. It was their front court. Caleb Wilson, Vessar. I mean, just big bodies. And it makes you wonder, like, when will Syracuse be able to recruit again big, strong, real athletic centers? Because Syracuse is kind of stuck with slightly smaller athletic forwards in the front court for a long time now. And anytime they face a team with real size, it doesn't look good in the paint. So the reserves for North Carolina, being up 32 points, came in with 5 minutes to go. And whether it was a lapse of focus or just a lack of effort on defense, Syracuse put up a 35-10 run in the final 10 minutes of the game, shrank it to as little as 6 points with less than a minute to go. How about that? A 2-possession game with less than a minute to go. But lo and behold, they could not get the big buckets to cut it to less than 2 possessions. So North Carolina bullied their way and got a lot of easy cuts to the basket to a 10-point victory at home. At halftime, Syracuse had 9 turnovers and 2 assists, which is kind of the story of the game. Now, looking back at the team's total points and total stats, Donnie Freeman led all scorers on the floor with 23 to his credit, 8 of 14 shooting, 2 for 4 from downtown, 8 rebounds, no assists, 1 turnover. Overall, fantastic game from Donnie Freeman. What else do you expect? J.J. Starling left a little bit to be desired towards the back end of the second half. I think he was just trying to force his hand. There were a couple of shots that were definitely ill-advised, but at the same time, no one else was attacking the rack. 13 points for him, 5 of 13 shooting, 3 rebounds. Nate Kings ended up fouling out, mainly because of the late-game fouls called for by Adrian Autry. He had 8 points, 3 of 6 from the field, 2 of 3 from downtown. He really didn't get a lot of opportunities to shoot from beyond the arc. And there was definitely a lack of game plan for him to be a shooting target from beyond the arc. Only shot 3 threes the entire game. Nathan George was a guy I called on before the game to be kind of an underrated ball handler in this contest. If he could minimize the turnovers and create some assists that he does so well, he's the team's assist leader, I thought maybe that would spark some offense. He was very quiet in the first half, ended up breaking out for 15 points total, most of it in the second half, 6 of 12 shooting, 2 of 5 from downtown, and 1 rebound, 4 assists, only 2 turnovers. I'll tell you what, Syracuse minimized the turnovers decently today, 10, which is 1 below their game average. William Kyle was a guy that I wanted to see match up well with the front court for North Carolina. Just 2 points for him. Stuff like that can't happen. You have to find a game plan where you can get William Kyle open. So now that we've run through the numbers for Syracuse, how about we go to the Massage Envy hotline? It's Vito in Clay. Vito, how we doing?
Oh, there he is. All right. I thought you cut me off there for a second. I'm good. So let's touch on the first topic here. What did I say about the playing zone? When did they come back in the game?
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And it's this kind of boneheaded decision making by this coach that infuriates me or frustrates me, I should say, with him, is that he should know I'm not trying to sound like I'm an expert, okay? But I just think in a game like this, they've beaten the heavyweights in the past with zone defense. I like the fact that he deviated from Boeheim's one defense philosophy and he uses man. But in this game, they needed to start out with that and see how it went. And here's the thing. We haven't seen that kind of, I would say, effort on defense or overall, enthusiasm and player, I don't know, since probably Tennessee and Houston. The Houston game, they went nuts. The effort was there. It was like a 2-minute offense in the NFL. It was like, go for the big plays, just play tough as you can. And they did that tonight, and they came back. And it's like, where was that the first 20 minutes? Or I should say it was 34-29, and then they got outscored 40-14, which was insane. But where was it during that 40-14 crushing by them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all effort, and we don't see it. And that comes from coaching and bringing it out, calling timeout and yelling and saying, what are we doing? Let's get out there. The Nolan Richardson 40 minutes of hell or whatever they called it. That we didn't see that all year, a couple games, and then the second half tonight at the end. And that's what frustrates me, man. But they needed to play zone, and he didn't do that, and he did it too late. And it's the story of the season with him.
I completely agree with you, Vito. I think us as, for me, I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a basketball player. I didn't grow up playing basketball. My job is to be a journalist. So I look at the numbers, I look at the story, and I paint the picture. As a non-basketball player, someone like me, and I don't know if you have a basketball background, we shouldn't be able to visibly see a lack of effort. The lack of effort early in the game was incandescent, to say the least. I mean, it shouldn't be palpable. The lack of energy, the lack of wherewithal, there was no urgency. I mean, is this something that is really that easy to see to you too?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said that. I can actually pinpoint 2 games where we saw that effort. Yeah. And, I will say one thing that was funny. There's a Giannis travel that is like, it's viral on the internet. I don't know if you've seen it. And
I think I have, yeah.
I can't remember who the commentators were. It might have been Kenny, whatever his name is, and they were laughing and saying, wow, look at all those stats. I think it was Reggie Miller. I haven't seen anything that bad until the three-pointer when the guy for North Carolina ran like 5-6 steps up to the three-point line and made that. Do you know what I'm talking about tonight?
Yeah.
I don't understand. You have one job, and how do you miss that? I don't understand how a referee misses something so blatantly obvious. But whatever. I don't know if that was if that was if it had affected or the outcome at all. I can't remember what the score was, but the fact that it was 34-29 though, and it just went out of control from there, and Autry couldn't do anything. He didn't do anything to stop it. He didn't change the defense. He did nothing, and that's why he can't be coach here anymore. He needs to freaking go.
I gotcha. Yeah, I hear you, and I think you're speaking for the fan base to a certain extent, right? All right, I appreciate you, Vito. Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So we'll see what other changes Adrian Autry can pull out of the hat. We do have to give him some credit, though. To be fair, he is playing North Carolina. We were never supposed to win this game. It's a matter of what they do against more competitive teams. The games coming up that I would have circled are Cal, maybe SMU, but SMU's playing good basketball recently. Like, they're borderline top 25 team. Mainly Cal, Wake Forest, and they absolutely have to win Pitt. That's three right there that I think they can win. Like, they were never supposed to win this game. It's the fashion in which they're losing these games that I absolutely understand why people are frustrated. So let's go to Chris in Syracuse.
How's it going, guys? North Carolina is vastly overrated. I'm not just over different teams they play against. Their defense, they're like SU. The only difference is maybe Hubert David does more than Autry does. Like the high-low action, SU get beat so many times down low with Vassar and Killer Wisdom. That's why Autry doesn't know how to adjust. I don't know. I don't think UNC is going to win one game in the NCAA tournament. They're like a 6 seed. They're not doing anything. It's like SU football. It can make any average team look better. They're high overrated. North Carolina, they're not going to do anything. It's a joke. It's what the rankings are, honestly. They're not a top 14 team. They're like a 20, 25. That's at best. And that's because it goes down to coaching. Autry doesn't know how to adjust at halftime ever, and that's why given the effort, you're all from 32 to lose by 10, but I don't know. Something's got to change. I know the centers, like I said, they always get the wing players, the guards, but they can't get the bigs to come down. Or some big center come down here and change. Just hopefully the new coach knows something. I don't know what's going to happen, whoever they pick. So hopefully still not SU. Hope they'll go with Jerry Macker. I'm sure they're going to offer him an interview, but I hope he doesn't get it because I'm not watching basketball if they pick another SU alumni player no more. So.
Gotcha. All right, Chris, I appreciate you for calling in. Yeah, Chris giving us his 2 cents, and again, kind of speaking for the fan base. The frustration is definitely mounting. Again, I don't think it's a matter of whether or not they won or lost this game. That's the matter. It's the fashion in which they did, because they made such an obvious change. And I will be the first to tell you that I think I swung and missed in the pregame show talking about the 2-3. I wasn't sure if that was the right game plan against the team that, well, they're not the best three-point shooting team, but could slash the rim and kind of zone bust. And sure enough, they bring out their reserves late in the second half. Syracuse starts the zone. All of a sudden, North Carolina's offense completely halts, and we actually started hitting some threes, which Syracuse doesn't do so often. Very interesting game. I think one final note for this first segment, too. Chris, your point is neither here nor there. It's not, whether or not they're overrated and they're not really a top 15 team. They're more like top 30. That's all subjective. I think what you're really trying to say, Chris, is back in the day, Syracuse, it was never a question whether or not they would hang with a top 25 team because they were always a top 25 team themselves. So I hear your guys' frustration. I mean, heck, even me as a 23-year-old growing up, I was pretty used to watching top 25 basketball week in and week out. And even if we weren't a ranked team, we were in the bubble or just inside it and always looking at the tournament. And here we are 4 years in a row of never once really having a full grasp of a tournament bid. I mean, even the 20-win season, we never had a resume win. So now it's a matter of whether or not this team's going to even finish over 500 overall. Again, guys, call in 315-437-7644. We've got one more coming up in the Massage Envy hotline when we come back. Segment 2 of the Burdick Toyota postgame show on ESPN Radio.
Did you miss Drive Time with Tim Leonard? Well, here's what you missed.
If it does come to a hire this offseason.
What's up, Trevor? Ubiquitous, found everywhere. I love ubiquitous. Kyle, why does SU stink so much? I never thought about that, Trev. I'm going the Seahawks right now. JSN's been incredible. They'll probably bust that secondary for the Patriots. Sam Darnold is, I'd say at this point, more reliable than Drake May. Dang, my bad, bro. That's on me.
Okay, we're just going over the air.
Okay, that's not good.
Could be worse.
That's true.
You didn't say, like, fuck Adrian Autry, I hope he loses his job, right?
No.
That's good. That's
Is
good.
your Audi not feeling quite Audi anymore? Don't just drive it, make it sing. At Expert Imports, our highly trained technicians know your Audi inside and out. And routine maintenance-
We're going to get banned from Twitch for this, but it's worth it.
I'm on IG Live, too.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. You're going to get banned. Here it is.
I don't know who this is.
Jojo, you don't know this song?
No.
Oh, generation gap. Oh, man.
How old are you?
29.
Yo, I saw you purse your teeth together. You're about to say 30. Are you 30?
No, I'm 29.
Okay, that's good.
97, but I almost said 30.
That was close.
He doesn't know Too Little Too Late by JoJo.
Hey, good night, Trevor. Can we please bring back my
Does the chat know that song? Does the chat know Too Little Too Late?
No one in the IG Live.
That's lame.
It's unfortunate.
Can we please bring...
What should my third thing to improve be? Ball movement, boxing out and rebounding. Yeah, boxing.
Real good.
What should a third thing to improve be?
Gerrymandering McNamara is really funny. I don't think that was on purpose.
Gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering McNamara is really funny. Is that what Jerry short for?
I knew it.
I always had a sneaking suspicion.
When minutes count, more patients count on Krause Emergency Services for the shortest wait times of any ER around. In an emergency, call 911 and say, "Take me to Krause." This is the Burdick Lexus Verdict BMW postgame show.
Segment 2 of the Burdick Toyota postgame show. Syracuse men's hoops drops another one. 87-77 at North Carolina. Kyle Marchak with you on ESPN Radio, QSportsTalk.com, on Twitch and YouTube if you want to see my big nose and glasses. Otherwise, listen to me over the radio. Thank you guys for tuning in. Massage Envy Hotline is buzzing. Call in at 315-437-7644. All right, let's just jump straight into the phone line and talk to some more loyal Syracuse fans. Drew in Syracuse, how are we doing?
Hey, Todd, thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Hey, listen, we've seen enough of red. It's not changing. Nothing's changing. It's the same old, same old. Let's cut them loose and let's see what we have on the bench. And then, like Jackson Holzer said, like, what's the worst that can happen? You spend the next few games with somebody else, and we can see if this team can improve or can't improve. And if not, then let's go out and make a real search for a real coach. So that's just my point.
All right, Drew, I appreciate you for hopping on. Lots of loyal callers giving us their thoughts. That was Drew in Syracuse saying, let's get rid of Autry midseason. I want to put a halt to that. If anyone else is calling in right now and they think that the answer to this problem is cutting Adrian Autry loose midseason, I would caution you that I'm going to disagree with you. Don't get me wrong. Do I think Adrian Autry is the guy of the future? I don't know. The odds of them turning things around and making the tournament, which was the clear benchmark for him continuing his career as a head coach at Syracuse, is slim to none. It was 2.2%, according to Bart Torvik, for an at-large bid for Syracuse before the North Carolina game. We knew they were going to lose at North Carolina. The fashion in which they lost, where there were clear improvements made in the second half, but they were made way too late, yes, that certainly enhances this idea that Autry, there are holes in his game plan pretty much every time his team hits the court. I agree. Letting him loose midseason is not going to solve anything. If anything, it's going to create some turmoil in the clubhouse, and players, faster than you can imagine, will be willing to leave Syracuse. Not that a changing of head coaches won't already create that issue in the offseason, but at least the players can finish the season with the guy they signed up to play with. There will be more positivity surrounding this program because things remain intact through the end of the season. And then when you let Autry go, the second the final buzzer sounds in the first or second round of the ACC tournament, we can talk to guys like St. Louis's head coach. Now, that's a whole other conversation, whether or not you stay in or you go outside the family. I'm in the ship of going outside the family at this point, unless Mike Hopkins has a good pitch for himself, which I don't know if Syracuse wants to go that direction. They could, but we'll see. I think it's a matter of focusing on how they can finish the season and really just save face. So with that, how about we go, before going to one more caller on the Massage Envy Hotline, we go to our 3 points of improvement. How do we improve the team? Brought to you by Auburn Community Hospital. Auburn Community Hospital is improving their team. Apply today at auburnhospital.org. My 3 keys: number 1, ball movement. Man, did that look bad today against North Carolina. They couldn't get around the Tar Heels' ball pressure at all, and they only finished with 7 assists. 7. Nathan George has games by himself where he has 7 assists. He was 4 of those 7 assists today. Second key, man, the rebounding was brutal. I mean, we knew Syracuse was towards the bottom of the ACC in rebounding margin. I think they're third to last. But, man, they didn't box out. They didn't show any physicality today. If this team hit the weight room a little bit harder in the preseason, I'm saying that rhetorically, life would be a little bit easier in terms of creating extra possessions. They were out-rebounded today by 10, 41-31. Tar Heels made it look easy. And I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it semi-ironically. They got to bring level 5 energy out on the first whistle. When's the last time, and we had a caller say it in the first segment, when's the last time we saw Syracuse really come out and bring it to a team instead of allowing the team to come to them? Houston? Tennessee, I guess? Those are 3 really easy keys to see. So with that, let's go back to the Massage Envy hotline. We've got 2 waiting. We'll go to Bassam in White Plains. How are we doing, Bassam?
Yeah, what's going on, Kyle? How you doing?
Doing good.
Thanks for taking the call. I agree with you, man. I feel like, firing Autry at this point, it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But let me tell you, someone who grew up in Syracuse, I was 10 years old when they won in 2003. I went to Syracuse. I got to see the Final Four run. It's really sad to see how far the program has really fallen, but there's clearly talent on this team. That's the frustrating part. Like, we've seen incredible stretches like the one we just saw maybe like 10, 15 minutes ago, but in Vegas they did all that without Donnie Freeman. And it's even more terrible that a lot of this talent is just going to go to waste. A lot of talent is probably going to transfer out. I don't think Cayenne wants to stick around. It doesn't look like he wants to stick around because just the way that he's getting his minutes now, right?
Yeah.
And it's sad to say that, you want to keep it in the Cuse family as far as head coaches go, but I think, we all have to move on. We have to look at it externally. But, Red should just, if we're keeping a good relationship, just resign at the end of the season. Make it easier for yourself. But it's tough. You look at it. Freeman is an NBA level talent that we haven't had in so long, and he's bringing us back to so many of these games. But it's just absolutely sad that no one on the team can kind of like step up or be the second option. And I don't know what to say. It's so far to see the ACC legacy that we have has been abysmal compared to the Big East. Like, there's a requiem for the Big East. It's really sad.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you for calling in, Bassam, and I absolutely agree with you. I think at the end of the day, a tell of whether or not someone is a good coach is straight up the correlation between how much talent they have on the roster and what they churn out. And Freeman being a projected borderline NBA draftee and not being able to churn out a quality team with him as the centerpiece. And as a matter of fact, not being able to build a team around him where he can't even be in the starting lineup, it's concerning. Let's go to Jim in Calabash, and that's my dad. Hey, what's going on, Dad?
Hey, how's it going, Kyle?
Doing good.
Good. I'm not sure I have a whole heck of a lot to offer that's new. I just, hearing everybody call, I'm massively frustrated. I obviously grew up in the 80s and 90s and saw the heyday. This is really embarrassing. That game was a blowout. Doesn't matter if they lost by 10. They were completely out of the game, to your point, right from the start. Would they have 2 points 6 minutes into the game? They're missing shots. Horrible ball screen defense, horrible ball screen defense. And I think it was Vito earlier talking about going to the zone. When your ball screen defense is that bad, you got to try something else. And, I was never a fan of being only zone with Boeheim. You got to just look at your players and try to figure out the best way to manage a game with the team you have. They got to do something different. It's awful.
Yeah, and they made that change to the zone way too late, too. I don't know. I mean, you've seen Boeheim sticking to the 2-3 religiously. Did you think Autry just kind of never had the wherewithal to make the right changes during the game?
Yeah, I didn't see any changes. That ball screen defense, I think I saw it probably most in the NC State game. That's when I first saw how bad they were managing ball screen defense. And I think Freeman's a great talent. He's an amazing scorer. I think his defense is horrendous. You got to figure out a way to protect against his defense, and maybe the zone might help with that. But the ball screen defense in particular is awful. The other thing that just drives me crazy is this team cannot seem to finish when they finally get in close. Mm-hmm. Whether it's a layup opportunity or a 5-footer, they're missing way too many shots. You got to get guys who are going to the bucket hard and take the contact and finish. I mean, they're a horrible free throw team, so they got to start making those buckets because they can't seem to get it from the line.
Yeah, I mean, even when they draw fouls, they can't hit their shots. All right, Dad, I appreciate you for calling in. Stay warm down there.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, love you. All right, that was my pops calling in, and that's where I get, my attitude and my demeanor toward this team, right, is because not only did I grow up in Syracuse and watch them in the back end of their heyday in the early 2000s and the 2010s, but I have that, feeding me the information of what this team was like in the Big East and their prime. And even in a time where Boeheim stuck to a 2-3 pretty religiously, now we have a coach who is trying to make changes on the fly. And here we are in year 3 of the project. With all due respect to Autry, a guy who represents the program well, he was a great player in his time, But in terms of being a coach, he has a lot of talent in this team for them to be playing the way that they are. I absolutely hear you guys. All right, but let's try and keep things positive, right? We talked about what they can do to improve going into that next contest. I'd say a more winnable game at Virginia. Going into segment 3, we'll talk about the play of the game and the star of the game. At least we have some highlights to talk about in terms of individual performances for Syracuse. It's coming up next on ESPN Radio. What's up, Jacob? Hey, buddy.
Choosing Toyota Gold Certified Used at Burdick Toyota. Choose a Toyota Certified Used Corolla, Camry, RAV4, Highlander, or Tacoma, including hybrid models. Then get today's best APR rate at Burdick Toyota in Cicero. At Burdick Toyota, all of our hand-picked pre-owned Toyota models offer terrific value for the money, and so do our other carefully chosen used rides. Find better used every day at Burdick Toyota in Cicero. Shop BurdickToyota.com.
Hurt in a car? Call the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. We've helped thousands fight for big money and big results. You only have one chance to win. Rideshare, truck, motorcycle car, only call William Mattar. 315-444-4444. Main Street, Williamsville, South State Street, Syracuse. We would be honored to help you. So call 315-444-4444.
Everything. Jeep, Chevy, drive a truck, Ram, Sierra, Silverado.
Actually, these last 3 years would have been less painful. Are we going to be getting red postgame? No red postgame.
Lincoln, Buick, Porsche. Drive used. Every make, every price, including certified.
Yeah, because we're on the road, so.
Drive everything. Drivers Village.
Your mini may be small, but your love for it?
Get my siblings to call in. Yeah, I should get the whole family to call in. I've got 2 brothers. That's it. It's kind of weird of you to ask whether or not I have a sister. That was just going to ignore that you did that, Florida guy. Only reason Cuse came back is... Yeah, I mean, no, the effort for North Carolina at the end was palpable, too. The lack of effort. I don't even know.
Just about when everything's going wrong. Just like in insurance, sometimes things go wrong and you have a claim. Hi, this is Joe Constantino, CH Insurance. When it gets tough, whether it's in your business or your home, you need to know you're with a team who's got you covered in good times and in bad. All the time, we're proud of our orange, their tenacity, their teamwork. Go SU. You're at CH Insurance. You can always count on us to be in your corner.
We turn the page to Chapter 3 of the Burdick Toyota postgame show for Syracuse men's hoops on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. Kyle Marchak hanging out with you. And as a guy who grew up in Syracuse, the frustration we're hearing from these callers is ubiquitous with the rest of the fan base. I can promise you that. Hey, call in, give us your thoughts on Syracuse's 87-77 loss in North Carolina. The Cuse now 0-8 all-time in the Dean Dome. 315-437-7644 or 315-4-ESPN-44. Call in, hop on our Massage Envy hotline, and give us your 2 cents on what you want to see change. Is it the guy leading the team? Is it how he leads the team? I'll tell you what, as we talk about our player of the game and our star of the game, Donnie Freeman certainly led the team today. Let's try and twist it to a positive note in this 10-point loss on the road. Donnie Freeman, 23 points, led all scorers, 8 of 14 shooting, 2 for 4 from beyond the arc, 8 rebounds, and he continues to be exactly who Donnie Freeman is. One of the only pure ISO scorers on the roster. Not that this roster overall doesn't have the talent to succeed in the ACC. Each player has its own skill set. Even guys who get minimal minutes like Tyler Betsy, he can be a really hot shooter from time to time. But Donnie Freeman is the most complete player. Now, we've talked a ton about whether or not he fits in the mold of the offense that tends to work best when it's running fast break. He's more of a slow down playmaker. But nonetheless, Donnie Freeman, our star of the game. He also has our play of the game. He cut it to a 2-possession contest at halftime. At the buzzer, he drove up the left sideline and banked in a 3-pointer. Well beyond the left elbow with someone's hand in his face, too. So Donnie Freeman, our star of the game. He also has our play of the game. Try and bring some positivity to Chapter 3 of this segment. We have someone waiting on the Massage Envy hotline. So let's look at Syracuse's overall notes here. They got out-rebounded 41-31, something we totally expect today with North Carolina being really strong on the glass. And Syracuse has always been a team that wants kind of a more athletic big man. They've never really had like pure 6'10", big-bodied big men. The tallest that we've really seen in recent memory, other than Naheem McLeod, is 6'10" in terms of full-time minutes. And McLeod, even as a guy who got actual minutes as a starter, he was too big to hang around, right? So overall, this team has always been the athletic big man type. And when you play a team like North Carolina or later on, you play a team like Duke, and it's rough in the paint. Nothing changed there. Nothing changed. This was certainly the same. And against a North Carolina team with one of the best front courts in the country, with one of the best players and freshmen in the country, and Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson, 22 points, 6 of 14 shooting, and he drew a ton of fouls. 7 trips to the free throw line, 10 of 13 from the charity stripe, 9 boards, 1 assist. And we did force 4 turnovers out of him because eventually we kind of realized maybe we should start pressing. And he's so athletic, they'll give him the ball on the inbound. Just a very impressive North Carolina roster. And then Vessar, the real big man, the 7-footer, 17 points, 7 of 11 shooting. He's one of the most efficient shooters in the country, top 20 in field goal percentage. 1 of 2 from downtown. Man, these big men continue to shoot from beyond the arc. He also had 11 boards. Syracuse got mopped on the glass, and I don't know if they ever had a chance. So North Carolina with an impressive performance, even after putting in their reserves and kind of giving up 5 minutes to go. And yeah, it was a 35-10 run for Syracuse in the second half. And of course, Syracuse couldn't quite finish. And that's been kind of the story so far this year. How about we go to Scooter in Jamesville talking about game action?
Yeah, guys, the thing, one thing, and trust me, this is not the reason why Syracuse lost. I'm just making a general thing about officiating. But Syracuse was in the bonus, and they actually Carolina had 7
7 or 8 quick fouls against him, which I said, well, here we go. Can Syracuse take advantage of it that he can't shoot free throws? But I also said, watching the people that were watching, I said, you watch. This thing's going to be even up in the next 6 minutes. So all of a sudden, Syracuse now gets 8 fouls, and now Carolina's down in the bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the first part of the second half, Syracuse was they're actually calling against Syracuse, and Carolina was already in the bonus with 12 minutes to go, I think, in the game, which, makes it a lot easier, obviously. Every time you foul somebody, you score. But the thing I had to laugh a little bit of was right before halftime, where the score was still about the 14 to 15 point mark, and Carolina's going to have the last possession. Syracuse comes out and plays zone, and Carolina just hit 3 threes in a row, and the guy hit one from the corner, and instead of being down 12 or 14, we're down 17. And I said, well, they're shooting the threes. Why would you go to the zone the last possession? But the game's interesting. That's how the games are played nationally, is that you watch the scores of these games. They're all in the high 80s or 90s, and I thought Carolina does not play defense. Yeah. And I thought Syracuse didn't play defense. And look at the last. Nobody scored in the first 4 minutes of the game, and it wasn't because they're slowing it down. They couldn't put the ball in the ocean. And look at the final score. But you got to go up tempo. I wish Syracuse would press for the whole game. I think they're better up and down in this type of transaction. You can get Freeman and maybe some space and stuff. And it's just, to me, the thing of, if you're an SU fan, you talked about it, where you expect to be in the tournament and it's not on the bubble, but how high to see this. Is this our 7th year in a row that we're going to lose at least 10 games or more?
Yeah, and this is the second out of the last 4 where we're concerned about whether or not we finish above 500. Scooter, I appreciate you for calling in. He brings a good point to the table. Why can't we have nice things as Syracuse fans? When's the last time football and Syracuse have been good at the same time? I can't really think, because I feel like during the Dino era, when he had that one good year, I don't know if that aligned with this. That might have been one of the Syracuse years where they just missed outside the bubble. So in terms of both programs, the money-making programs at Syracuse University meeting a standard at the same time, I don't know. Wild Hack might be shooting over. Just some food for thought going into our final segment. On the Burdick Toyota postgame show, Syracuse drops one by 10 at North Carolina. Overall, I honestly thought they actually outpunted their coverage. They covered. It was a minus 12.5 point favorite for North Carolina. They covered the spread. So when we come back, we'll take a look around the ACC. A lot of action, actually, tomorrow. Boston College at Duke is the main contest, so it tells you it's not the most exciting day in the ACC, but some action to look at nonetheless. We'll take a peek at the scoreboard when we come back. You're listening to ESPN Radio. Yeah.
I'm like the helicopter mom around here.
No, I mean, it's totally fine.
Utility is the computer, so it's this one.
Cool.
You use this one if it's coming from out there, this one in here.
I can just leave this on like that and then
as
just...
long as nothing plays from there. And then you
Is it the audio file on Cool Edit Pro?
The one I opened, yeah. Whichever, the only one that's there has Audrey's name on it. And then I also pulled up his tweets.
Cool. Thank you. Back on the Burdick BMW postgame show on ESPN Syracuse, QSportsTalk.com. Syracuse, the final in Chapel Hill, 77-87. The Cuse fall to 0-8 all time in the Dean Dome, and those Tar Heels walk away victorious in exciting fashion. Syracuse came out very slow, which continues to be a point of improvement for this team. And sure enough, the Tar Heels put in their reserves in the second half, kind of had a lapse of focus on defense, and somehow Syracuse made it competitive again. They went on a 35-10 run over 10 minutes and made it a 6-point ball game with 60 seconds to go. And then finally, the Tar Heels kind of did what they did well and cleaned the glass, prevented inside game, and finally put the bow on a 10-point victory at home versus a Syracuse team that made it close for what feels like absolutely no reason. So with that being said, Syracuse falls to 13-10 on the season, 4-6 in ACC play. North Carolina, 18-4, 6-3 in ACC play, tied 5th. Tar Heels well within reach of another tournament bid. Syracuse, as the callers have painted the picture for me in this postgame show, a team that had the talent and actually had the non-conference resume to say, hey, we have an actual chance at the tournament for the first time in 3 years. And in the middle of a 4-game skid in ACC play and then finally getting back to winning ways against Notre Dame this past week, they come out, try and steal another one. They were never meant to win this game at number 16 North Carolina, but the fact that they made obviously improving changes late in the second half and they just didn't make that change early enough is what leaves us kind of scratching our heads. So with that, how about we go back to the Massage Envy phone lines and talk to Pat in Syracuse. Pat, how we doing?
Yeah, I don't fully agree with what you're saying, to be honest with you.
I got you.
I think it's more what you were hitting on first. It's very hard when you're beating a team by 30 and there's how much time left? Like 10. I think it was probably even, I don't know, 14. I can't remember when it got to 30 because I really tuned out, half tuned out because we just look. The bottom line is Syracuse's record over the last 8-9 years on ESPN is embarrassing. Like this, it is an embarrassment. Mm-hmm. But the point is this: if you look at North Carolina's stats going into the game, you clearly need to come out and play a ton of zone. And also, the reason you have to play zone isn't just to play zone. It's because you are outmatched in the paint, and Kyle is better as a shot blocker in the zone than dealing with pulling him away from the basket. And he's also a good rebounder. He's got a quick first jump. He's got a really quick second jump. He's got a good wingspan, and he's got a great vertical. Those are all things, and he's got a high motor. Everything you need to rebound is right there. Okay. In the zone, it's usually pretty easy to go get the ball, and that's what Kyle is better at doing on the rebounds than having to muscle in a man and box out. So, I mean, we heard Boeheim say it. We've even heard Red actually said it a couple weeks ago or last week that in the zone, you don't necessarily box out quite as much. You still have to box out. And Boeheim used to say you don't box out in the zone. You just go get the ball. That was stupid because that's not, you got to do both. You have to check your man and go get the ball. You can't just go get the ball. And so that was just Boeheim being Boeheim. But that's not the point. The point is simple. Red is inept. He is a reactionary coach. He is not a proactive coach. In other words, go back to Jay Wright. Okay, Jay Wright was one of the first to sit there and say, "I'm going to play small ball." And I've said this point before, and people say, "Well, it's easy to do when you have 3 NBA players." Okay, his small 5 was a borderline NBA player like Dante Cunningham and some of these guys. He would say, "This is what I'm doing. You have to match up to me, and if you do and you beat me, great. But we're going to play my way, and that's the way it is." Syracuse could have dictated this whole game. They could have said, "Carolina, you're at home, And this is what we're going to do. We're going to play zone, a lot of zone. We're going to go with a big lineup so we can help out on the boards, help out with the bigs. Our offense stinks anyways, so I don't want to hear about that nonsense because the best way to get offensive possessions is to get the rebound and to stop them on defense. And we've watched for too many years our zone when it was good, and when our defense was good, that leads to offense.
But do you think they ever had an actual? Do you think they ever had an actual shot of rebounding against North Carolina today? I mean, did you see their front court? They're gigantic.
Yeah, but think about what we could have done if Sadiq, Donnie, and Kyle are all in the game. If you can't rebound at least competitively with that, then there's something wrong. That's a great rebounding team. And then you put Kings at the 2 and JJ at the 1, and you have pretty decent rebounding guards. So to me, you're going 6'4", 6'6", 6'9", 6'9", 6. I think Donnie's taller than Kyle by a lot. I think Donnie's like 6'10" and a half. And they all have wingspans. That's the lineup I would have played the predominance of the game. And see what I had against this particular team. Now, against other teams, maybe not. But against other teams that aren't big, you could potentially throw that lineup and say, you got to deal with my size and my zone and my wingspan and figure it out. But Red is exhausted. And here's the thing I'll say. People say he's got to finish out the season. I think for his own mental sanity, that might not be the best thing for him. And what do you think it would take? And I know this is just two guys talking. What do you think it would take for them to let him go before the end?
Man, for him to be fired before the end of the season. I mean, after a 4-game losing streak that started with a loss at Boston College and the schedule being 5 of their next 8 games being quad 1 opportunities and only 1 being a gimme win, which is Pitt to end the season.
That's not a gimme win.
Well,
that's not a gimme win.
You know what I mean, Pat. I don't know if there is a scenario where they fire him.
He's not good enough to have a gimme win. This team is not good enough.
Okay.
They're not.
But that's the frustration talking. I think we're pretty comfortable in saying that they should beat Pitt at home. I don't know if there's really a world where Syracuse fires Adrian Autry mid-season. It's just not the smart thing to do. I mean, yeah, like it would probably take losing out for them to consider it, but by the time they lost out, the season's over. I just don't see a world where Syracuse fires Autry before the end of the season.
I think most people agree with you, and I don't disagree.
I hear you, though.
And I'm not necessarily saying that they should or that they will, but I've heard arguments on both sides, and I actually like the argument to just just relieve it. The season's a waste. I mean,
I hear you.
People were thinking that we could go 6-3 and then win 2 or 3 in the ACC tournament and then have 20-something wins. That was not happening. I mean, that was not. And one more thing. Anybody who doesn't realize that Donnie Freeman, that was not just a matchup situation. Coach Autry said in the post-game presser the game before, he already hinted to what he was going to do. He basically said Sadiq was the only one playing hard. So to me, who was the 2 guys that weren't playing hard? It's very obvious. Anthony and Freeman. It was obvious. Defense, rebounding, getting back, all that. That's why he didn't start. And there's nothing more than that. And no. I mean, what do you think?
No, I agree with you, Pat. And I'm going to have to let you go because we have the post-game presser coming up.
Guys.
Appreciate you. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, I want to be as modest as possible. I'm a journalist. I'm not a basketball player. I'm not a basketball coach. But my eyes don't deceive me. The eye test versus the numbers paint a pretty clear picture that Donnie Freeman's a freak athlete. And he is a truly talented scorer and basketball player. Maybe that entails the frustration that you can see on his face when he's the only one really carrying this team. They were talking about him and him only at halftime. He had 18 points at halftime. He only scored 5 points in the second half, and he still ended up being the game's leading scorer. He carried a lot of the scoring for Syracuse. He had 60% of their points at halftime. But he's putting in all this workload. I think we see him take possessions off. That's not unfair to say. Now, we can't speak for him. He's obviously going to say that he's putting his full effort into every possession, but Adrian Autry clearly didn't agree. Pat brings a good point that Autry, yes, I think it was still a strategically correct decision. Was that the reason? Maybe not. Maybe it was because Sadiq was the only one hustling out there. You know who else hustled today? Soiree. Kire Soiree came in, and that dude got a couple of tough buckets on the inside and made 2 really sweet plays on defense in the middle of that 35-10 swing that brought Syracuse back within 6 points with 60 seconds to go before they finally sold it away. All right, how about we go to the post-game press conference? We'll get our words from Adrian Autry coming up in a sec. All right, we're going to have to stall for 1 second here, waiting for the post-game presser in full from Adrian Autry. How about we get his initial reactions, the final 18 seconds of him walking off the court per WAER?
No, I thought the guys showed tremendous heart battling back, getting into a 2-possession game. That just shows the fight. We got to be able to do better than that and not dig ourselves that hole. But we'll definitely keep improving and working, trying to get ready for the next one.
All right, that was the initial reaction after the 10-point loss at North Carolina per Learfield, pardon me. And now we do have the full game presser audio coming up here on ESPN Radio. Let's get to it. Adrian Autry after the 77-87 loss in Chapel Hill.
I thought Carolina really set the tone at the beginning of the game with their physicality and their inside play. I thought we battled back, and then they made a quick run before halftime, and I thought that was a difference, and we kept fighting, kept battling. The second half, they got it really big, and our guys we just kept chomping away. But I thought the game, Carolina set the tone right from the beginning with their, just the physicality on defense, inside in the paint, scoring, and I just thought, our inability to get anything constantly going on offense was a big issue. They started switching everything, and again, we didn't make the ball move as we would like. And then at the end, I thought we just showed some heart and kept fighting because we were down big, and so we have to be able to learn from this and move forward and get better.
What did you see from your team's fight to get back down to 6 towards the end there?
I just thought we just played with the intensity and I thought we started just really being a little bit more physical. Say this, at least on offense. I thought we set screens. I thought we started getting into the paint. I thought guys made shots. It was also a part of us not being able to make shots, but I thought we just, I just thought we just were more aggressive, late. But a lot of it was just, we just kind of opened the floor up and kind of let our guards make the play. You can't really do that the whole game, but I thought in that particular moment that was the best way to get back because I thought Carolina did a really good job of pushing us out. And standing us up. Our bigs had trouble moving the ball because of their pressure on the outside perimeter.
Yeah, obviously it was as many as 32 that you guys were trailing. Just how did it get to that point?
Like I said, I thought, our guys stood. We got stood up. We didn't work as hard as we needed to work to get it, and that was all 5 guys. I didn't think we screened well at that time. And we just had trouble. Really, they were very disruptive. Trying to move the ball from side to side. They did a really good job of that. And our guys just stood. A lot of our guys are used to, playing with the ball in their hands. And when that happens, they stand up. And now we don't have any movement. And and that's the thing that we have to work on. We have a lot of guys that like to play with the ball in their hand, and we have to do a better job of moving without the ball. You can't do that in today's game. We just have to do a better job of moving without the ball. Our guys got to screen, and we got to be able to make quicker decisions, right? And we just didn't do that.
When you look back at how you built your roster in the preseason, is that something you just didn't foresee? The number of ball dominant players and how it would sort of fit together.
No, we knew we had guys that could score. You need to have those guys that could score, but we also we were trying to get them to also understand, make decisions quicker, move without the ball. And that's tough. That's tough to do. That's the challenge. I think that's the challenge for a lot of players, to be able to make quicker decisions and move without the ball and be able to use screens. And we have vice versa. We got to be able to set better screens. And so we've had moments where we've done that, but we haven't done it consistently. So that's where the frustration comes in, offensively, is that we got to get those guys that can score to be able to, make better decisions, and we got to be able to get them the ball in better situations as well to make quicker decisions.
Adrian, you took on 21 of 32 field goals in the last game, and you said this is something I'm going to show these guys how this works, how it works like this. And what was sort of the disconnect in just showing them that? I know that obviously they play a different kind of defense in North Carolina, but why was there so much of a disparity of one-on-one today compared to the way you moved the ball against North Carolina?
It was Carolina's defense. It was definitely Carolina's defense. They pushed out. They switched. They got on top. And we just didn't have the movement that we needed to have, which, we talked about that, right? And again, that's the frustration offensively. So, if any frustration, that was the frustration. And then obviously defensively, we held up for the most part. Then they had their run, and then, we lost our intensity. I thought the zone got us back into it. I thought it slowed them down a little bit, made them pass it, and it kept some of our guys that were edging into foul trouble, some of our guys that we needed to stay out there. I thought that did a good job of protecting them and staying out there to allow us to at least cut the game to 6. But I think at the end of the day, on both sides we have to get better and more consistent, and that's what we have to do. And, for us to go where we want to go, this is, part of the season. This is part of the journey. This, again, there's more games to be played. I like this group, but we just have to, be more consistent. Be more consistent in what we're trying to do. Be more consistent in what we're trying to do.
Do you feel like this team is getting better? Like, where do you see it?
I think it has. Again, it has, but the consistency part is what keeps, to me, keeps hindering us to keep pushing forward, all right, and getting the results that we want. So we have to be more consistent on defense. We have dips on defense, and then when our defense is strong, then the offense, all right? So I just think we got to do a better job of really locking in and focusing on, what we talk about and what we preach, and stop, not fighting it, but like just getting with it. I think that's what we have to do a better job of.
Toward the end of the first half, this was still a 5-point game, and then in the last couple minutes, UNC goes on a 12-0 run, initially with Donnie Freeman on the bench there. Just what do you think happened in that stretch specifically to make it such a large lead for UNC?
I thought we had a couple of turnovers, and then in those turnovers, I thought defensively we had some breakdowns. They pushed it. We didn't get matched up. They moved the ball really well. Our box wasn't there. Like I said, we just had some breakdowns defensively.
Time for one more.
I know this isn't a team kind of game, but you were playing against a lottery pick in Caleb Wilson, and Donnie was matched up against him for something. How did you see that matchup?
I thought it was a good matchup. Again, I thought, they did a really good job of getting him the ball in certain areas. I thought Donnie, really, his abilities are really good. I thought he scored a lot. We have to do a better job. We turned it over a couple of times trying to get him the ball in the areas that he needs to get it into. And that's, as a team, we have to do that. Donnie is a talented offensive player. And he can score inside and out, and we have to do a better job of, trying to get him the ball in certain places, and so that we can play off of that. And I thought Carolina did a good job. Vassar's a really good passer. He can stand up and get him the ball. I think they're a really good passing team, and I think that helps him.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, that was Adrian Autry, head coach of Syracuse men's basketball, giving his post-game coaches conference, brought to you by RomanoCars.com. Back here in the waning minutes of our post-game show, brought to you by Burdick, BMW, and Lewis. On CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio, Kyle Marchak. I've been hanging out with you all day, pre and post, talking about Syracuse at North Carolina. Final score 87-77. Syracuse, the it was a disappointing loss for Syracuse at North Carolina, now 0-8 in the Dean Dome all time. But the score does not tell the story. Syracuse let North Carolina out to an early lead, 9-2 at one point early, hovered around that 7-point advantage until Donnie Freeman hit a buzzer-beating 3 to make it a 6-point game at the end of the first half. Then North Carolina came out storming in the second half and made it at one point, 32-point advantage. Then North Carolina, to Adrian Autry's stress with his team, kind of did what Autry hates to see with his squad all year long. Just a lack of effort, a lapse of focus. Probably because they were up 32 points. And you know what? If I'm up 32 points, I'd probably stop trying as hard too. And Syracuse took advantage of that. You got to give the team credit. They certainly tried to come back. But what did they do wrong in order to end up down 32 at North Carolina in the first place? Now, mind you, it's not that losing at North Carolina is bad. That's a very I can live with that loss for the rest of my life. It's the fashion in which they made some really late changes. Changes that could have been made a little bit earlier, talking about the zone. And really the change that needs to be made with this team is having a head coach that can keep this team focused. He said, quote, "I think this team has improved in some ways, but the consistency is what hinders us from pushing forward. If we're pushing well on offense, we have lapses on defense. If we are pushing well on defense, we have lapses on offense, etc." Well, in year 3, I mean, again, I'm no judge of character. You can't afford to have a coach that can't get his team to remain consistent in terms of effort. The effort has to remain the same. In other programs like Duke and North Carolina, the players have no choice. If they don't give 100% effort all the time, they are taken off the floor. Now, Autry did do that with Donnie Freeman, seemingly last game. He said, Sadiq White's the only one trying. Next game, Donnie Freeman didn't start. Seemed to be a positive difference to the team, because Donnie Freeman came out with fresh legs ready to go. We'll see if those changes come up again. All right, like final minute of the show, if you guys want to call in, 315-437-7644. We'll see if those changes stick around as Syracuse now moves on to a game on Saturday at the University of Virginia. A little more winnable of a contest. Virginia, number 18 team in the country. They've had some really close ones. They only won by 2 possessions at Boston College recently. Had a close game with Georgia Tech before that. So maybe a fraudulent top 25 team could be a little bit easier in terms of getting another ranked win on their resume if they can turn things around. It's looking slim to none in terms of the chance that they can do that, though. We'll see. Let's try and keep things positive, see what Syracuse can change going forward in terms of the lineup, in terms of consistency of effort. Donnie Freeman was our star of the game, though, with 23 points. Certainly brought the effort today and tried to just put the team on his back. Led all scorers and had 18 in the first half alone. Upcoming schedule, 5 of their next 8 games are quad 1 opportunities. They're at Virginia. They host Cal. They host SMU, which will likely be quad 1. They're at Duke. Then they host North Carolina. They're at Wake Forest. They're at Louisville. All those games, unless otherwise indicated, are quad 1 games. They host Cal, that's quad 2, and they host Pitt, that's quad 3. Otherwise, a bunch of Q1 opportunities. Syracuse, if they want a resume that they can turn around, it's having 5 of their next 8 games being quad 1 opportunities. Will they do it? I guess we'll see. You guys will have to stick around on ESPN Radio and keep tabs in our coverage for the next month of this team as we hit the waning seconds of the 2025-26 season for Syracuse men's hoops. A look around the ACC, a little bit of action for men's basketball coming up tomorrow. Boston College pays a visit to Duke. Excited to see how lopsided that contest will be. Pitt at number 18 Virginia. That'll be another test for Virginia at home, not because Pitt is good, they're not, but because Virginia's had some struggles with below-average teams. Definitely a ranked squad that plays up and down in their competition. Then NC State at SMU, that is a genuinely competitive contest. 2 tournament-bound teams meeting up in Dallas at 9 p.m. tomorrow. That'll do it for me here in studio in downtown Syracuse on ESPN Radio and CuseSportsTalk.com. Hey, hang around, and I'll see you guys on Saturday at number 18 Virginia. Go the Syracuse Orange February 7th. I'll bring the pregame coverage bright and early at 11 in the morning for a noon tip on ESPN. I'll catch you guys there. I'm Kyle Marchak saying so long and see you next time on ESPN Radio.